Good morning, everyone, from Jeff's Little Engine Service. Today's project is this little Tecumseh engine right here. It's on a pressure washer, and it's an Enduro OHV 5 horsepower engine, horizontal shaft. They've put a lot of these on go-karts and mini bikes and a lot of other equipment. But this one here will start up sometimes and only run for a couple of seconds. It starts if you spray starting fluid in it, but won't stay running. So I know we have a fuel delivery problem going on, possibly contaminated fuel. Let's check it out. Well, let's just take off the air filter here to start. See what kind of condition it's in. See if it's oiled up. No, it looks like it's still all right. I'm going to give this carburetor a thorough cleaning. I'm sure it needs to be rebuilt rather than just take off the float bowl and clean that out. I'm going to take off the whole carburetor and probably rebuild the whole thing. I'll show you all how to do that. And we'll also have to clean out the gas tank and the fuel line. So to take off the air filter backing plate, you have a 1/4 inch screw there and Phillips heads there. I think I need to get a longer Phillips head. Yeah, this longer one is going to work much better. Don't lose them. Okay. Oh, there you go. So on this side you have a Phillips head bolt or a 3/8. I think on the left side there you have to use a Phillips head screwdriver to get into there. And then you have a 7/16 nut on that side. Oh. And now the other side, which this one can kind of be tough to get to sometimes. You know, getting the 7/16 nut held. I don't think my 3/8 socket won't make it behind there, so I'm going to have to use my Phillips to hold it in place, and I think I'm just going to try loosening it and see if I can get it to break loose. Nope, that sucker's on there tight. Okay, how can I get to this other side? So it looks like you can come up from underneath with the 7/16. This one's a little too long. I'm going to get a shorter one to fit. Alright, so I think if I try this end, I can get up in here better. Maybe. Yeah, if I move this out of the way. Yep, I think I got a grip on it now. Yep, there we go. Oops, I'm going the wrong way again. I'm kind of upside down here, folks. Can't really see what I'm doing. Yeah, got it. Okay. All right, let's see if we can get this carburetor off of here. One good wrap. And We'll remove the breather line, which is the top line, and I think we can just maneuver this enough. Can you see that? A little linkage right here. I'll show you how to take that off. You basically just move the governor lever into position and there you go. And definitely keep track of which hole this linkage is in and which direction the loops go on it. I think for now I'm just going to clamp off that fuel line and pull it off the carburetor. There's only a little bit of gas in the gas tank left, but I don't want it leaking all over, so I have that clamp on there now, and we can take off the fuel line without gas going everywhere. That looks like the clamp is just going to break. That's fine. Probably going to need a new fuel line. And to get this clamp off of here, you might just have to get medieval. Like that. Sometimes you got to get brutal. Alright, so let's take a look inside this thing. Alright, let's get into this. I have a 1/2 inch socket, and that's what you will need to take off the float bowl. You can see this one's starting to rust a little bit. Hopefully the inside doesn't look too bad. Now this bolt right here is also the main jet to the carburetor. What I mean by that is the main jet is the main passageway that fuel flows. And that's what it looks like when you take it out. You can see it's pretty corroded. There's holes that you're supposed to be able to see down in there, and holes on the side down at the bottom. We'll have to clean this off. Take off the float bowl. Well, that does look pretty nasty. I have seen worse. So what we need to do is we need to clean out. I have some carburetor cleaning solution that I'm going to soak these components in for a couple of days. I don't think, you know, I'll probably have to put the float in there too to soak, because it's pretty dirty. Take off the float bowl gasket. Take off the hinge pin here. Wow. Was that float valve not even on the float anymore? That explains why this engine wouldn't run. Jeez. Yeah, and here we have more signs of tampering. That clip is not supposed to be shaped that way. The primer bulb is still rubbery and pliable, so it's good. We do need to clean off all that corrosion there, and around where the float bowl gasket sits there's some corrosion, but I don't think I need to soak this. Just clean it. And you'll see on this side you also have a, we've already removed our main jet. That is your slow speed jet that you need to remove. And the same deal applies. There's holes in this jet that need to be clean, and they're darn near microscopic. There's one right in the middle there, and you can see there's some on the sides, but that one in there is the main one down in the center that you need to get cleaned out, poke it out with some wire or whatever. Alright, let's get this stuff soaking and cleaned out. I do want to test the float by shaking it. You can hear if there's gas in there. This one is still good. Can't hear anything. Still floating. And we also have the red nozzle, plastic nozzle with 2 O-rings on it that need to be it needs to be removed. And we also need to remove the seat down in there, that little white rubber piece, and replace that. I found the best way to remove the nozzle is just to, can you see it in there? And then you just, sometimes they get pretty stuck, but if you get a screwdriver down in there, you can usually pop it out. Like I did there, and you can see it start coming out this side. I'll grab a pick or something to pull it out from there. Alright, time to take out the nozzle here. And I've already pushed it down as far as it'll go with this pick. Oh, there it is. Looks like I didn't push it all the way down. Alright, so one of the O-rings is still there, but it's pretty hammered, as you can see. And the other O-ring is still stuck up inside there. So we'll have to get that out. I'll use this pick to get that O-ring out of there. It's way down in there. Sometimes you have to pull it out in pieces. Try not to scratch things up too bad. Come on, you little stinker. There it is. Yeah. It's in pretty bad shape too. Spray a little bit of carburetor cleaner down in there, because there's always residue of the rubber O-rings way down in there. You'll want to use a Q-tip. See all that stuff that's coming out of there? You need to get all that out, all the way down to the bottom. Yep, see that nastiness? Don't need much carburetor cleaner, just a little bit. I try not to use too much carburetor cleaner. It's toxic. Alright, looking pretty good. Be careful, this plastic piece will break on you sometimes. You'll want to clean that up as well. Make sure that the hole, you can see through it. Make sure that all these little holes on the side are good. Alright. Next thing we're going to want to take out is the needle seat, which is down in here. And I have this special tool I got from Tecumseh. So this end plucks the seat out, as you can see. And this end is what you would use to install a new seat. Tecumseh part number 670377. It's probably called a needle seat removal tool. I'm not sure what they call it, but it's a handy little thing. And I've already cleaned out the carburetor. I used a variety of brushes here to get all the corrosion off, and it's looking pretty clean. So I think we're ready to start reassembly. Here's the part number for the O-rings. So the Tecumseh kit comes with a new seat, a new float needle, float bowl gasket, and a main jet gasket. I get it from Tecumseh, and the part number is 631021B. Spray a little bit of lubricant, WD-40 on this and in the hole so it goes in easy. Alright, so a little spray of WD-40. Want to make sure to clean out. You also want to make sure to clean out in the seat area before you're installing new seat. Make sure there's no stuff in there. And a little bit of WD-40. First I'll put the nozzle in. It has the new O-rings on it, and it goes in this way. And you just want to push it in place. Make sure the O-ring doesn't pop off. Sometimes this O-ring pops off when you put it into place. Let's get the needle seat. Okay, so here's the new needle seat, and if you look closely you'll see on this side it's fairly smooth, and on that side there's like a ridge or a groove. The groove goes towards the metal when you're pushing it into place, so you'd want to push it into place this way. And you can use really anything to press this thing into place. You don't want to press it too hard, but you want to firmly seat it. This tool is handy for that. You can use just a punch to do it. So you have to put the clip on the new needle, and in comparison to the old needle, you see what was going on there. The old needle, someone had been in there messing with stuff, so we just want to send that guy flying. We don't need him. Okay, now we just need to wait for those other parts to soak and clean up before we can reassemble it. See you in a couple days. Okay, I'm trying to remember where we left off. I just pulled this out of the carburetor cleaner and it looks pretty good. I've cleaned up the main jet here and the pilot jet, or the slow jet, which I've already installed back in there, right there. I've got my new float bowl O-ring on. One thing I did notice when I took the float out is that if you shake it now, there's fluid inside, so it's no longer any good. So I have a new float here we're going to use. And you just put the needle on like so. See how that's on there? And you very carefully put it in place. I can reuse this float pin, it's still in good shape. Oops. And you got to be careful, sometimes things can flop around on you like that. So put this back on like so. Man, this float's in bad shape. It's all dinged up, all dented up. I don't know if it'll work. See what I mean? That's a brand new float. Oops. Get back in there. Now what we need to do is hold the float. Now we need to hold the float horizontal like this and make sure that the gap is even all the way around. It looks like we need to open the gap on that side a little bit. So I'll just take a screwdriver in and pry that tab a little bit. Oops. Well, you see I got a little too much, so there we go. That looks about even. Maybe a little farther down. I'm bending the tab upwards now. And if you measure this with the gasket on there, just keep that in mind, that everything's square. But that looks pretty good. Looks about right to me, even on all sides. You have to put the float bowl on a certain way, and you see that hinge pin there, you want the line on the float bowl to line up with that hinge pin. So just like that. And we go ahead and put the main jet back in. Cinch it down. I think I just felt that old gasket tear. Yeah, forgot to replace. So I'll put the new gasket on the main jet, reinstall. Don't tighten it down too much or you can break things. Don't ask me how I know that. But you do want to get it good and snug. There we go. Time to go back on. So here we are ready to go back on, but we did ruin that gasket, so we need to make one of those. I also need to drain out the gas tank still and clean out the fuel line, maybe replace it. So I'm going to drain the tank and start making a new gasket. Okay, I'll be careful to scrape the gasket off so I can use it as a template to make a new one. Hopefully. Keep it in one piece. There we go. That's what we have right there. Okay, let's get after it here. I usually put the fuel line on last. That way you can maneuver the carburetor around. First thing I'm going to do is hook up the linkage. Okay. Get the new gasket. The breather line, and I'll put the fuel line back on. Now, since you're using a screwdriver for this back side, you really want to make sure you tighten it up good. Pretty good. Back to this side. Alright, I think we're ready for the air filter assembly. This carburetor, by the way, you do have to have the air filter backing plate on because the mounting holes there go into the inside of the carburetor, so those need to be plugged up with the screws that go in there. Our gasket is still good on here, so I'm going to reuse it. And before I tighten those down, don't forget this little tiny one mounts there. Turned it around this way just so we could look and make sure there's no leaks. Since I just filled it up, I don't see anything leaking. I don't have the wand. I don't want it pointed that way, that's for sure. Now I don't have the wand for it, so I'm just gonna have to shoot it towards the neighbors. Sometimes he gets a little mad when I do this, but now I'll go push the primer button 5 or 6 times and try to start it. Yeah, I think it's working. Hope my neighbor doesn't mind.